Joe Schmo. If these laws are not overturned, what is there to stop other industries from bribing politicians into passing similar laws? What is there to stop toy companies, for example, from suing people for saying that there are dangerous levels of lead in many popular toys? What is there to stop pharmaceutical companies from suing doctors who criticize the dangerous adjuvants and vaccines and deadly side effects of many prescription drugs? What is there to stop the government from passing laws telling you how to wipe your own ass? Okay, I'm going to see if I have any calls into the show. If you want to call into the show, my number is 646-378-1514. Once again, my number is 646-378-1514 if you want to call into the show. Let's see if we have any calls into the show. No, it doesn't look like I have any calls, so I'm going to move on now. The House of Representatives a few weeks ago has overwhelmingly passed, with only 5 no votes, the Cybersecurity Act, which is the most unconstitutional legislation proposed in Congress since the Patriot Act. I've read the entire bill, and I have to say it's even worse than I thought. This thing would be a total government takeover of the Internet that would make even Chinese-style censorship look like a joke. And the Senate version's even worse. I don't have time, and I doubt many of you have the patience, so I won't read the entire bill. I'm just going to read to you sections that I think are the absolute worst. Now, under Section 1B, the President, quote, shall appoint as members of the panel representatives of industry, academic, non-profit organizations, interest groups, and advocacy organizations, and state and local governments who are qualified to provide advice and information on cybersecurity, research, development, demonstrations, education, technology transfer, commercial application, or societal and civil liberty concerns. Now, nowhere in that statement does it mention Congress. Now, under this section, the President and the President alone has the power to appoint whomever he pleases without any input from anyone else. Even more disturbingly, this is a blatant violation of the 10th Amendment, which requires that any subject expressly mentioned that is not expressly mentioned in the Constitution be addressed by either the states or the people. This fact becomes even more clear as this section goes on when it says that the President may seek and give consideration, that's right, consideration, to recommendations from the Congress, industry, the cybersecurity community, and the defense community, state and local governments, and other appropriate organizations. So the President not only does not have to report to Congress, and the panel that this bill would set up also has no obligations to report to Congress, and is only obligated to report, quote, to the President on its assessments. Total fascism. Section 4 of this bill violates the constitutional separation of powers by giving the Secretary of Commerce godlike power to legislate by fiat. It says that the Secretary of Commerce shall, quote, in consultation with the Office of Management and Budget, develop a plan within 90 days after the date of enactment of this act to implement a system to provide dynamic, comprehensive, real-time cybersecurity status and vulnerability information of all federal government information systems and networks managed by the Department of Commerce, and implement the plan within 1 year after the enactment of this act. Section 5 is yet an even greater violation of the separation of powers and the 10th Amendment by further encroaching on states' rights and even attempting to co-opt private charities and further empower the police state control grid, which has a stranglehold on what is left of our republic by giving the Secretary of Commerce the power to provide assistance for the creation and support of regional cybersecurity centers for the promotion and implementation of cybersecurity standards. Each center shall be affiliated with a United States-based non-profit institutional organization or consortium thereof, that applies for as awarded financial assistance under this section. Section 5 also encroaches on the free market by using these so-called cybersecurity centers to require that all large, medium, and even small businesses only be allowed to use software and technology approved by the government's cybersecurity standards. Under the purpose of the cybersecurity centers, under Section B the purpose of the centers is to enhance the cybersecurity of small and medium-sized businesses in the United States through the transfer of cybersecurity standards, process technology, and techniques developed at the National Institutes of Standards and Technology to centers and through them to small and medium-sized companies throughout the United States. Now, if this bill is passed, folks, say goodbye to open source programs. Kiss them goodbye, because they're going to be illegal. Section 5 also allows, in addition to the money expressly appropriated to the President, the Secretary of Commerce, or the President's designee, whatever the hell that means, for the execution of this act, also allows them to steal other federal funds from other departments it may feel like taking for the purpose of providing federal funds to support the centers. And Section 5 even gets the FCC's corrupt hands into the mix with a, quote, FCC National Broadband Plan, which says that they, quote, shall report on the most effective and efficient means to ensure the cybersecurity of commercial broadband networks, the very same FCC that is responsible for destroying nearly all vestiges of free First Amendment expression on TV and the radio with draconian licensing restrictions which protect multimedia conglomerates from competition by pricing smaller media outlets out of the business and institution of puritanical standards of decency to protect the children from obscenity, which is supposed to be the parents' job to decide. Section 7 speaks for itself. Quote, beginning 3 years after the date of the enactment of this act, it shall be unlawful for any individual to engage in business in the United States or to be employed in the United States as a provider of cybersecurity services to any federal agency or as an information system or network designated by the President or the President's designee as a critical infrastructure information system or network who is not licensed and certified under this program. In other words, all Internet service providers will be required to be registered with the government and be licensed and certified under the Cybersecurity Act. So this would give the government the power to shut down any server or site which they do not like. No judge, no jury, no probable cause, no First Amendment, no privacy. Don't believe me? Check out Section 9, which says within 3 years after the date of enactment of this act, the Assistant Secretary of Commerce for Communications and Information shall develop a strategy to implement a secure domain name addressing system. There already is one. If you have a domain name, it is yours unless this freedom-destroying bill passes. And you're not going to believe Section 12. Quote, the Director of National Science Foundation shall establish a federal cyber scholarship for service program to recruit and train the next generation of federal information technology workers and security managers. Program description and components. The program shall provide scholarships that provide full tuition fees and a stipend for up to 1,000 students per year in their pursuit of undergraduate or graduate degrees in the cybersecurity field. Boy, isn't that a great message to send to America's youth, folks? Join the Cyber Gestapo today and we'll help you pay for college. Heil Rothschild! Long live the New World Order! And last but not least, Section 14 gives its own spin on the Nixonian logic of if the President does it, it's not illegal, by giving the Secretary of Commerce the power, access to, quote, all relevant data concerning such networks without regard to any provision of law, regulation, rule, or policy restricting such access. If this act passes, the government could track, trace, and database everything you do online and switch off your connection anytime they want. Even if all you do is download porn every day, all day long, you're in danger of having your speech and privacy rights violated even further than they already are if this abomination passes. Okay, folks. I'm going to see if I have any calls. Any calls? Any callers? No. No, it doesn't look like it. Okay, I guess that's all for today. I will see you again next week. End broadcast now.